Good morning, students. This is chapter 14 of class 9th Natural Resources. Dear students, this chapter is not the part of your annual examination. Means the questions from this chapter will not be asked in the annual examination. But you have to read this chapter because you have to write a brief up on any of the topic which I will give you at the end of this chapter, and that brief up that will be the part of your portfolio. So at the end of the chapter we will discuss what is portfolio and what you have to write. You will be given a topic, and on that topic you have to write a report or a brief up or what you have understood from that topic. So listen carefully and read the chapter regularly. Chapter is natural resources. What are natural resources? Whatever the resources which are provided by nature are called as natural resources. Nature, and as you know, we all live on the planet which is named as Earth. All of you know the solar system, sun and the planets, they form the solar system, and Earth is one of the unique planet on which life is possible. Why life is possible? Because there are various things which are present on the earth and which are necessary for the survival of life. For example, ambient temperature means right temperature is there because it is at the right distance from the sun. So the temperature of the earth is suitable for the survival of living organisms. Then water is present on the earth's surface in the liquid form, which is utilized by the living organisms. And food, so all these things are required by the living organisms, and these things or these resources, they are present on the earth, and the sun is providing energy which is fulfilling the basic requirement of living organisms. So we can say the earth is a unique planet because it is at the right distance from the sun, so the temperature is suitable. Water is present in the liquid form, so it is fulfilling the basic requirement of the living organism. So, what are these resources on the earth? Now, what are the various natural resources? We will talk about them. These are the land, water, and the air. Land is there on the earth's surface, water is present, and the air, which is most necessary part or which is the most a required part of the living organ by the living organism. So oxygen is present, that is air is present, water and land. Now as we know, the uppermost layer of the earth, that is known as lithosphere. Lithos means rocks and sphere means part. Here this word is given. Lithos means rocks and sphere means part which is solid or which is the outermost crust. It is known as lithosphere. Then if we talk about the water, as we know that on the earth 75% of the surface is covered with water, and some amount of water is also found underground. So all this sphere, it is known as hydrosphere. Hydro means water, hydrosphere. Hydro means water and sphere means part of the earth. Means part of the earth which is covered with water, it is known as hydrosphere. Part of earth which is covered with rocks, it is known as lithosphere. Then we talk about the presence of air. Air is present on the earth's surface and it forms a blanket on the earth's surface. So this air which is forming a blanket on the earth, this is known as atmosphere. So we have talked about the three spheres: lithosphere, then hydrosphere and atmosphere. And living things are found where these three exist, means where water is present, there also living organisms are present. Living organisms are present in air also, and they are present on the solid earth or the earth crust also. Now this atmosphere, which is the life, which has life supporting oxygen. Then hydrosphere, where water is present, and lithosphere, it is the place where these organisms live and interact with each other. And all these interaction, where atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere, all these spheres of the earth, what they do, they make the life possible on the earth, and this is known as biosphere. Bio means living organisms, means part of the earth where living organisms are present, that is known as biosphere. So we have read about the four terms: what is lithosphere, what is hydrosphere, then what is atmosphere, and what is biosphere. So these are the different spheres. Now, as we know that living organisms, they constitute the biotic component of the atmosphere. Means living organisms, they are called as biotic components. Bio means living. And air, water and soil, they are known as abiotic components of the atmosphere. So we will study about these abiotic components in detail. First is air. Air is necessary for living organisms, so it is called as breath of life. Because all of you know that living organisms, they do respiration, and for respiration they are in the need of oxygen. So this is the abiotic component which is required by the living organisms. Now if we talk about the air, air is a mixture of gases, means it is mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide and water vapor. And if we talk about the composition of air, then we will see that all these gases are mixed in different proportions. As you know, that if when we talk about the composition of air, this is if I draw a structure like this, as we know that 78% of our atmosphere, it consists of nitrogen, and 21% what is present, oxygen is present, and 1% is left, which is the mixture of rest of the gases. So we can say that air is the mixture of gases, and some amount of water vapors are also present on the earth's surface. Now if we talk about, or if we compare this with other planets, then what we can say that planets like Venus and Mars, there is no life on the earth's surface. Why? Because the major component of that atmosphere is of carbon dioxide, but the living organisms, and especially other than the plants, all the living organisms, they are in the need of oxygen, and that's why life is possible on the earth's surface. And if we talk, or if we compare it with other planets like Venus and Mars, there is no life, because the atmosphere, it is mainly composed of carbon dioxide. So what we can say, that carbon dioxide constitutes about 95 to 97% of the atmosphere on Venus and Mars. Means the atmosphere of Venus and Mars has more amount of CO2, that is about near about 95 to 97%, and that is not suitable for the survival of living organisms. Now the two terms about which we have read in our previous chapter also, eukaryotic cells and prokaryotic cells. I think all of you are familiar, but let us recapitulate these terms. Eukaryotic, eu means advanced and karyo means nucleus, means the cells whose nucleus, the cell which have advanced nucleus, they are called as eukaryotic cells, whereas prokaryotic means cells, their nucleus, if it is primitive, then those cells are called as prokaryotic cells. And if we talk in simpler form, eukaryotic cells are those cells which have well defined organelles, whereas prokaryotic cells do not have well defined organelles. Boundary is not present in the prokaryotic cells. Now, eukaryotic cells and many of the prokaryotic cells, what they do? They take oxygen during respiration, then the food taken by these organisms, it is converted into glucose during digestion. Now this glucose, when it combines with oxygen, it gives energy, and this is known as respiration. What is respiration? Glucose plus oxygen, it gives energy. And carbon dioxide is also produced. Let us write this equation: glucose plus oxygen, what it gives? Energy plus carbon dioxide. Now, what the living organisms do when they take their food, they convert their food into glucose. When they respire, they take in oxygen. In the cell, when this glucose it combines with oxygen, what it gives? Energy. This energy is used by living organisms for their metabolic activities. And now, what is produced as waste? CO2 is produced as waste. So, another process which results in the consumption of oxygen and the production of carbon dioxide is combustion. We have talked about the respiration in living organisms, but when we talk of our outer environment where the things are burning, whenever a substance burns outside the body, suppose we burn a paper, we burn the fuel, then what is produced? Then also oxygen is utilized and carbon dioxide is produced. Keep this thing in your mind that oxygen is the supporter of combustion, यानी कि burning के लिए which gas is helping? Oxygen is helping. So here also oxygen is utilized. First we talked that oxygen is utilized by living organisms during respiration. Secondly, we are talking that this oxygen is also utilized by the things which are burning in our outer environment also. So and when the things are burning, they are also producing carbon dioxide. Means human activities also, whether that is taking place inside the body or if it is taking place outside in the environment, what is being utilized? Oxygen is utilized during combustion and carbon dioxide is produced. And if we talk about the human activities, for example forest fire also, what happens in the forest? If suppose there is any sparking, that may be because of any of the human activity, or whenever there is more temperature in the forest, what happens? The dry leaves they start burning. That is known as, and when that fire reaches to the trees, they also burns. This is known as forest fire, and during forest fire also lot of carbon dioxide is produced. And when we talk about all these activities, then also if we talk about the composition of air, only carbon dioxide, the percentage of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is 0.03%, means very less amount of CO2 is present in our atmosphere as when it compare it with the Venus and Mars. Venus and in on the planet Venus and Mars, what we have studied that the percentage of CO2 is 95 to 97. But on the Earth, lot of activities are being done. But then also the amount of CO2 is only 0.03%. Now, what will happen to this CO2 which is produced by the living organisms? Plants. What they do? They do photosynthesis. And during photosynthesis, plants take carbon dioxide. And this is known as carbon dioxide fixation. Means what the green plants will do? They will take carbon dioxide. Then they will take the sunlight from the sun, water and minerals they will absorb from the soil, and these green plants they will prepare their food in the presence of sunlight, which is known as photosynthesis. Means CO2 is there in the atmosphere. Then what the plants will do? They will take water. Along with water, minerals also enters into the roots of the plant. Then what is produced? Glucose plus what will be given out? Oxygen. And this equation is known as photosynthesis. Earlier we studied about the equation of respiration. वहाँ क्या हो रहा था? कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड प्रोड्यूस हो रही थी. And what is happening here in this equation? Oxygen is being produced. So green plants, what they are doing? They are using carbon dioxide, converting it into glucose, and the second step where the carbon fixation takes place, that is marine animals. Marine means aquatic animals, animals which live in water. Then what they have? They have carbonates dissolved in, use carbonates dissolved in seawater to make their shells. You might have seen some of the shells whenever any construction work is going on and they are using that concrete, जिसे हम जो है बजरी बोलते हैं हिंदी में, and when they filter it with the sieve, छलनी के साथ जब उसको छानते हैं during the construction work, you might have seen some of the shells. What are these shells? These shells are the covering of the aquatic organisms, and these coverings or shells They are made of carbonates. And carbonates, that is, if it is calcium carbonate, then it is CaCO3. CaCO3, calcium carbonate. Here what we are seeing, we are able to see here, that in CO3 what is present? CO2 plus O. Yani here also CO2 is being used. So in the two ways carbon dioxide of the atmosphere is used, one by the green plants and the second by the aquatic animals. What the aquatic or marine animals will do, they will take that carbon dioxide for the preparation of their body shell. Shell is the covering which is present on their body. Now, what is the role of atmosphere in the climate control? As we know that atmosphere, which is the air, and what it does, it covers the earth like a blanket. Now, air is a bad conductor of heat. So what happens? Atmosphere keeps the average temperature of the earth. Whenever sun is there, then also the temperature of the earth does not go beyond. And when there is night, then also the earth doesn't become very cold. What is the reason? जब सन है तभी भी बहुत ज़्यादा अर्थ का टेम्परेचर नहीं होता, एंड व्हेन सन इज़ नॉट देयर देन ऑल्सो द टेम्परेचर डजेंट ड्रॉप, बहुत कम नहीं होता. रीज़न इज़ बिकॉज atmosphere is there. Atmosphere, what it will do, it prevents the sudden increase in temperature during the daytime, and during the night time it doesn't allow the heat to escape in the outer space, and that's why the temperature of the earth is maintained. Now if we talk about the moon, which is at the same distance from the sun that the earth is, but what is there? Because on the surface of the moon there is no atmosphere, so the temperature ranges from minus 190 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. What is the reason? And why there is not sudden increase or sudden decrease on the earth atmosphere or on the earth surface? Because on the earth surface there is atmosphere, and atmosphere is bad conductor of heat. So lot of amount of heat जो है वो आ भी नहीं पाती एंड जो है एस्केप भी नहीं हो पाती. जबकि इफ़ वी टॉक अबाउट द मून विच इज़ एट द सेम डिस्टेंस एज द अर्थ इज़ फ्रॉम द सन, but because moon doesn't have its atmosphere, and that's why during the daytime temperature reaches to 110 degrees Celsius, and at night the temperature becomes minus 190 degrees Celsius. And from this example now you can easily differentiate the importance of temperature. Now this activity is there. Measure the temperature of the following. Take a beaker full of water, a beaker full of soil or sand, and a closed bottle containing a thermometer. Keep them in the bright sunlight for 3 hours and now measure the temperature of all the vessels. Also take the temperature reading in shade at the same time. So what they are telling, by this activity we will be able to understand the difference that which substance becomes hotter faster. A beaker full of water means water is there. A beaker full of soil means sand is there. And a closed bottle containing a thermometer. And when we will do this activity, then we will be able to answer our next topic. So first we will read our next topic and then I will explain about this activity. Yes. The movement of, as we have seen above, sand and water do not heat up at the same rate. As I have told, दोनों जो हैं वो सेम रेट पर जो है क्या नहीं होंगे, गर्म नहीं होंगे, ना ही वो ठंडे होंगे. उनका जो डिफरेंस है, रेट ऑफ कूलिंग है, दैट विल बी डिफरेंट. एंड दिस इज़ द मेन रीजन व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द एयर करेंट्स, जिसके बारे में अब हम पढ़ेंगे, द मूवमेंट ऑफ एयर और विंड्स. You have studied in your lower classes about the land breeze and the sea breeze. Means the air which starts from the land, it is called as land breeze, and when it starts from the sea, it is called as sea breeze. Means, and what is breeze? Breeze means flow of air. What is the basic cause of this movement of air? कभी लैंड से हवा चल रही है या कभी सी से चल रही है. व्हाट इज़ द रीज़न? दिस इज़ द रीज़न बिकॉज देयर इज़ डिफरेंस. क्या डिफरेंस है? ऑन द हीटिंग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, कि अर्थ यानी कि जो सैंड है और जो वाटर है, उन दोनों का जो रेट ऑफ हीटिंग है उनके बीच में क्या होता है? डिफरेंस होता है. दोनों ही सेम टेम्परेचर पर हॉट या कूल नहीं होती. सो वी विल डिस्कस इट इन आवर नेक्स्ट वीडियो.